poverty. The word evokes images of millions of poor in our country. All those who sleep hungry, all those working for pittance. Malnutrition getting scary with 40% of children being affected. Crores of rupees being spent on food subsidy by our government, and yes, a feeling of disgrace that just a fraction of this really reaches the poor. With these thoughts in mind, an article in New York Times drew our attention. It was about food stamps for the poor in America. The prosperous America and poverty do not gel together. But of course, there are poor in this country too. There are food insecure people even in the city of New York. One of the government programs to address food insecurity is the system of food stamps. We got curious. What is this food stamps? Does it help poor? Interestingly, American farmers too support the system of food stamps in a big way. That intrigued us. It appears that this system helps the poor consumers as well as the farmers. To understand this firsthand, we landed in the city of New York.
You go to a market, you go to buy rice, juice, whatever. They give you the price, you tell them I'm going to use my food stamp card, or it's the EBT card.
Yeah.
You know, and they tell you, all right, what is it you're going to use, cash or stamps? No, I'm going to use food stamps.
Miguel is using food stamps for last 10 years. As per American standards, his monthly income of $1,600 makes him poor. Unable to feed his family with this income, he tried getting better paying job, but in vain, and so applied for food stamps.
Sometimes it's hard, sometimes it's easy. Listen, this is how the world works.
Yeah.
There's, right now in New York City, there's policemen, there's firemen, there's city workers who are on food stamps.
Yeah.
So there's nothing to be ashamed of.
After recession, 1 in 8 Americans benefits from food stamps. American government directly transfers food subsidy through food stamps. Hunger is a global phenomenon.
Half your people are starving or weak or have no opportunities.
Right.
You know, what does that say about you?
America introduced food stamps in the 60s. These were paper coupons then, which could be traded for food grains or food products from any shop. Technological innovations have replaced the paper coupons with electronic smart cards, known as electronic benefit cards. These cards were introduced in 1996. We went shopping with Miguel. Right at the entrance of the shop, a poster announced acceptance of such cards. This is given by Civil Rights Department. It was placed along with the advertising posters of other credit card companies.
But it's much more convenient as well because people could lose their money, lose their food stamps.
Right.
Instead, this card, you can always get it replaced. So it's much more convenient. Let them know that you lost it, and within about 5 business days, they'll give you a new card.
Miguel finished shopping. The total amount he's purchased was deducted from his card. Our government procures food grains directly from farmers and distributes at subsidized rate through public distribution system, popularly known as ration shops. Whereas the American government directly deposits the food subsidy amount to the beneficiary's account. Miguel gets $300 per month for buying food grains as part of the program. We saw him spending around $50 by simply producing his card like any debit card to be swiped. A report says 1 in 8 American citizens is assisted by food stamps program and 1 in 4 US kids derive benefit from food stamps. The program is officially known as Supplementary Nutrition Assistance Program, SNAP. This is Brooklyn in New York, relatively underdeveloped area of New York. Fifth Avenue Committee office is situated here. America too faces the challenge of reaching the real poor, the needy. Many organizations work through network like Single Stop US to make it happen. Fifth Avenue Committee is one of them. They take efforts to make programs like food stamps reach the poor.
All the programs that the United States has
for social welfare kinds of stuff, I think that food stamps is one of the most effective, absolutely.
Recession has hit very badly. Many lost jobs, their salaries slashed. In times like these, food stamps was a big help.
If you were in such situation, would you do that?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, if I found myself in a really hard situation where I'd lost my job and I was looking and I couldn't find anything, yeah, absolutely.
It is quite simple actually. To get benefit from food stamps, person has to just register their name and other details to the concerned authority. Their family background, dependent persons, monthly income are assessed to finalize the subsidy amount. Once the procedure is over, the sanctioned amount is transferred to the beneficiary's bank account, which can be accessed through electronic card. They use the card in any of the shops and buy food products like any other consumers do. Organizations are trying to get poor to apply for the food stamps to augment their food grain provisions.
And I think that as that mindset has started to change, especially with the recession, people who haven't ever had experience accessing these benefits.
Another similar network, New York Coalition Against Hunger. Director Joel Berg revealed the shocking facts of America's poor.
The city alone of New York has 56 billionaires and 1.4 million people who don't earn enough to fully feed their families. The fact that 1 in 8 Americans get food stamps isn't really surprising when you understand that an even larger number of Americans, 49 million Americans, live in households described by the federal government as so-called food insecure. In fact, New York City now has a higher level of inequality of wealth than Mexico and Sri Lanka.
Presently, about 1 crore Americans gain from the food stamp program.
Even though there are tens of millions of Americans getting food stamps today, there are tens of millions of other Americans who are eligible for the food stamp program.
America too is fighting hunger, and significantly,
it certainly helps that we have a president who is dedicated to fighting hunger in America. Yeah. President Obama is actually the first president in United States history who grew up in a family that received food stamps. His mother was a nursing student.
This has given a different perspective to the welfare program of the government. Obama has increased the budget outlay for food stamps program, and then as everywhere else, here too there are people who oppose such measures.
Most libertarians are actual hypocrites. They get government help to support bringing electricity and phone systems and now the internet into rural areas where many of them live. Yeah. But only when it comes to poor people do they say, oh my God, what a horrible thing for the government to be involved.
The next challenge is to strengthen the food stamps program.
What we need to do in the food stamps program is expand efforts like the Food Stamps Farmers Market Program or the Women's, Infants, and Children Program, Farmers Market Program, that allow people on these government subsidy programs to buy products directly from small farmers. So I think more of the funding for our national efforts should be shifted into things like this.
Do you see there are any scope for malpractices in this? Do you think that there could be some kind of corruption here, or it's absolutely corruption-free system?
No system is corruption-free. No corporation is corruption-free. No nonprofit group, as we call them here, or NGO, is corruption-free. No government program is going to be corruption-free. But there is a heck of a lot less corruption in the food stamps program than there is a few feet from here on Wall Street. Most corporations, most NGOs have far higher overhead than that.
Back home, food security is a big issue of vulnerable groups like Dalits, tribals, nomadic tribes, single deserted women, homeless in urban areas and such. Government's lofty pronouncements do not reach such marginalized groups. Almost half of rural poor and as much as 75% of urban poor do not get an iota of grain from the ration system. And of those who do manage to get food grains, it only makes for a week's provisions. Obviously, they buy a major chunk of their needs from the private shops.